When I was 21 years old, I worked the maintenance and custodial position at the nearby daycare down the block. My job entailed disposing of trash, moving and setting up furniture for special events, performing preventative maintenance, keeping supplies organized, maintaining and cleaning the facility, caring for equipment, and overall maintaining a safe environment, which included reporting suspicious activity that may lead to child abuse or mistreatment. Some days I'd even be the one both opening and closing the facility. It was a pretty demanding job since it was just me and one older guy who was more or less my boss. Most of the time I'd be the one to lock up the place, as he would go home earlier. The daycare building is on the grounds of a Catholic school and church, though I'm pretty sure the daycare was open to anybody, regardless of religion. The older worker, who I'll just refer to as Bob, was leaving early this one day. It must have been a Friday because he always left early on Fridays. He told me the things I needed to get done before cleaning up. Start with the usual clean up the classrooms, and also pack the rest of the Thanksgiving decorations from the classrooms back into the crates, bring them down to the basement, and then start bringing the Christmas crates upstairs. These crates contain decorations that would be used all over the building, from the lobby to the hallways to the classrooms. The childcare staff would be the ones to do the actual decorating, but it was my job to clean up all of it and bring the crates up and downstairs. Since it was now after Thanksgiving, it was time for Christmas decorations to be brought up. All the kids and staff were gone by this point. It was dark out between 6 and 7 o'clock. I was the only one left in the building, so I locked all the doors while I continued my work. I went down to the basement, which was used mostly for storage. Since it was cold out and we were past outdoor play season, all the outdoor toys that were usually in the courtyard play area were downstairs in the basement. This included but wasn't limited to plastic slides and those toy cars that kids would move themselves in with their feet. The basement consisted of a hallway which passed the boiler room and the hot water heaters, and at the end of the hallway was the storage room. This room always had a creepy vibe to it, mostly because of the lighting, or lack thereof. There was no direct overhead lighting down there. It was just two sketchy dim lights in the corners, and then the small light from the hallway. The basement ceiling also wasn't high. I had to slightly crouch to avoid hitting my head in certain spots. It was like a hybrid of a basement and a crawl space, but then again, I'm 6'3", so to shorter people this wasn't an issue. The basement had a bunch of small windows that would make it decently bright down there during the daytime, but obviously at this point it was dark, so I would use a flashlight. I brought the Thanksgiving containers down one by one, putting them near to the front of the basement just because I was lazy and wanted to go home and likely start the weekend. I was lugging one of the Christmas containers up the stairs and through the hallway when I heard a kid's voice and then laughing. It was very muffled, but I definitely knew what I heard. I stopped pushing the container and started looking around the place. I checked every classroom, then the indoor playroom, then the art room, then the bathrooms. Every room I could think of. There were no kids in there. I kept hearing that muffled voice every once in a while though. The one place I didn't check was the basement. I walked back to the basement door and looked down the stairs, waiting. I heard a noise come from down there. The realization that there was a kid down there dawned on me, and so I ran down the stairs yelling, "Who's down there?" thinking one of the kids snuck down there. I got to the bottom and ran the basement hallway to the storage room. I saw one of the toy cars moving for like a second before coming to a halt. It was 100% as if it had just been pushed. I stood in place and looked around the room. I didn't see any kids that could have just pushed that car. I said, "Anyone down here?" multiple times. It was dead silent. The silence was actually deafening. I started actually looking inside the boxes and containers, thinking a kid could be hiding in one of them. But halfway through, I started realizing there was no way a kid could close any of these containers or boxes on top of themselves. At this moment, I felt like I was alone, but that I also wasn't. I can't explain it. And then, right behind me, I heard something plastic drop to the floor. There was no drift whatsoever down in that basement. I didn't even turn to see what it was. I just fled to the upstairs without looking back. I stopped at the top of the stairs again, and when I heard what I could only describe as a child's whisper down there, I slammed the door shut. I didn't know what else to do except call Bob, and in short, he said if I think there's a kid down there that I need to call the police. The scary thing is, I didn't think there was a kid down there, but I still called 911. I just couldn't leave without confirming. And I was right that there were no kids down there, because with the help of a couple police officers, when we looked down there, there was nothing but a bunch of boxes and containers full of supplies and decorations. I also couldn't find anything on the floor that could have made that plastic sound dropping on the floor. Given the fact that there was nowhere else to hide down there, and no one reported their kids missing, the cops could do nothing except leave. I could tell the cops felt like I wasted their time, but I was too disturbed to be embarrassed of the police call. I quit right before Christmas, before I ever had to go back down to that basement again.